Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. This is your boy MagMongoSlade. Today, we're going to talk about Dave Meltzer belittling the subject of medical situations. And this is a recurring issue with Dave Meltzer, okay? This time we're talking about Dutch Mantell. So Dutch Mantell is 74 years old. His wife is also sick. They need money, GoFundMe, because they've been in the hospital. And Meltzer writes an article about that, but then he goes into PR campaigns for AEW. So now he says that they, meaning GoFundMe, has raised $64,200, with most of the top donors being anonymous. And the largest known donors were Tony Khan with $5,000, Chris Jericho $1,500. With Khan, many have pointed out that Mantell as a podcaster was brutal to Khan, even critical of him when the promotion was at its popularity peak, and recently criticized him for the contract terms Swerve got on his recent deal. It is something when a former wrestler gets mad at a promoter who clearly can afford it or what he pays the top talent. And he was doing it after he knew the new deal was put in together that was going to make the company exceedingly profitable. Wrestlers using the old "he doesn't draw money" and not understanding that this isn't a mom and pop week-to-week business based on live event numbers, but one that in a worst-case scenario would generate $250 million next year, and that most of the revenue is guaranteed ahead of time. Question: who gives a fuck about any of this stuff at this point in time? You're talking about a serious medical issue. Why do we care about Dutch Mantell's criticisms of Tony Khan at this time? Does anybody care? Tony Khan doesn't even care, because Tony Khan is the one giving the money. You can say Dutch Mantell has been critical of Tony Khan in the past, so it's good to see Tony Khan donate $5,000 to the GoFundMe. And, Chris Jericho also, because, he's been critical of AEW. It's okay to put that in there, but all of this stuff about, it's not a mom and pop business, they're going to be exceedingly profitable. Who cares if Swerve Strickland doesn't draw any money? That's not relevant. You're taken away from the subject at hand. The subject is Dutch Mantell is in a very serious medical situation right now, and he needs help. And Chris Jericho was able to put it aside. Tony Khan was able to put it aside that he criticized AEW, and they donated money. That's what good people do. That's what responsible people do. You can give them the tip of the hat by saying that. But going into the rest of this stuff, like he's old, out of touch, yada, yada, that's not even relevant. That's not even relevant. It stinks of you trying to take cheap shots while the guy is down. But this, of course, isn't the first time he's done this. We can go back to talking about Roman Reigns, right? You remember when he said that Roman Reigns' cancer wasn't as bad as WWE and Roman was trying to make it out to be? I'm not going to go through that because I've been through it on this channel before. But did you know, in 2017, he actually put, and this was actually something that Uproxx picked up on, that Katsuyori Shibata, the guy whose brain was supposedly removed from his head and put back in, Meltzer had put in the Wrestling Observer newsletter that the injury was a work. And they quoted him talking about this in 2017. So this is what Uproxx says from 2017. Now, Shibata's brain injury has already occurred, right? So it says, on the latest edition of Wrestling Observer Radio, Brian Alvarez asked Dave Meltzer, what's happening with Shibata's injury? Meltzer replied that, to the best of his knowledge, the brain injury is a storyline, but Shibata will be out of New Japan for an extended period of time. He says, as best I can tell, it's an angle. So he's going to be off for a while. Maybe it's like Kofi Kingston's injury in this situation, Where it's another issue that they did an angle to cover for. I don't know. But that's what I was told. It's an angle. Shibata's career essentially ended after that neck injury. And that brain damage. It ended essentially his New Japan career. Nobody holds Dave Meltzer accountable for him saying this was an angle. He didn't know. And he was running his mouth. He did not know. And guess what? Everybody laughs when he was talking about, taking the brain out and putting it back in. As a matter of fact, it became a joke that RJ City and Shibata was doing on the AEW gimmick thing that they did recently. What RJ City asked him if his brain was taken out and put back in. This is a serious injury. And he turned it into a joke. Because he's a fucking idiot. But it wasn't just that, however. Because we can go back even further than that. 1998. Shawn Michaels suffers a back injury in the casket match against The Undertaker. Meltzer is in the dirt sheets telling people Shawn's back injury ain't that bad. Now, shout out to yet another wrestling channel. A smaller YouTube channel that I just happened to be watching. And he was talking about Shawn Michaels doing some indie matches in 2000. And he quoted Dave Meltzer as Dave Meltzer was spreading doubt that Shawn's back injury was even as bad as it was being led to believe. The reason, I'm going to give the reason, because the reason is kind of sensible, that Shawn didn't want to do the job to Steve Austin. So he's trying to perpetuate that storyline, that Shawn doesn't want to really do the job, so he's talking about how bad his back is. So this is what Dave Meltzer, and it's a direct quote from March 2nd, 1998 in the Wrestling Observer newsletter. Within the industry, nobody believes he, meaning Shawn, was injured as badly as he claims. Although at this point, even if he was, nobody would believe it. There were these kinds of stories that when he was supposed to have been bedridden the day of the pay-per-view, that he was riding around all afternoon on a friend's motorcycle. Saying, oh, Shawn's fine. He was riding around on motorcycles. His back's not that bad. Did he see Shawn Michaels riding around on a motorcycle? No. He wasn't there. He's just saying, this is what I was told. Again, that's like when he's talked about Roman's leukemia. I was told this by... Like, you're not a doctor, bro. Stick to what you know. Stick to what you know. This is embarrassing. He's done this time and time and time again, especially with injuries. How is this the guy who is the primary source for so many wrestling books? For so much information? All of this stuff is fruit from the poisonous tree. Meltzer does not know most of the stuff. He has no idea. He doesn't quote any doctors. He doesn't quote anybody that he's talked to. He doesn't have any information, really. He is an incredibly tasteless guy. Incredibly tasteless. So it's hilarious to me that he has what was that? What's that award that he gives away? Most disgusting promotional tactic. That's what the award that he gives away every year. Been giving it away since 1981. So should Meltzer ever win his own most disgusting promotional tactic? You think that promoting AEW while discussing the hospitalization of a 74-year-old wrestling legend, to take that time to stand on a soapbox about how you are right about AEW and how Tony Khan is magnanimous for putting aside the money? Isn't that a disgusting promotional tactic that you just did for AEW? You should win your own award. Somebody should actually Write that into the Wrestling Observer Newsletter Awards. This is the most disgusting promotional tactic of the year. You telling everybody how Dutch Mantel criticized AEW at a time like this. Who gives a fuck? Let's see if anybody who actually votes on these stupid awards has the guts to say that this is the most disgusting promotional tactic. I doubt they do. I doubt it. I seriously doubt it. We're gonna keep talking about stupid stuff like WWE going to Saudi Arabia or whatever, and we're gonna completely ignore all this time this guy has belittled medical situations involving serious medical situations involving wrestlers. It's a shame, man. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll talk to you folks later.
MagMongoSlade. Best house I ever drew, Daddy.